I'm Dan, this is At Midlife Crisis Motorcyclist, and this is of course the Yamaha R9, a bike I've been looking forward to riding for some time now, but now I have it in front of me, I will admit is making me a little bit nervous, and that's not just because of the whole street hawk vibes of the looks of this one. No, the reason I'm a little bit scared of this bike is that although their heyday predates me getting a licence, previous Yamaha sports bike, like the now track-only R6 and R1, have got a definite reputation for being very sharp, very pointy, very aggressive, and although the R9 is supposed to be a little bit more kind of road optimised and relatively friendly, it definitely channels some of that spirit. Now, in theory, that makes it the perfect Yamaha sports bike for our age. Or is it in fact just an MT-09 in its gym kit? Or a midlife crisis motorcyclist with his dad bod squeezed into some slightly too tight leathers? I guess we'll see, but the platform underneath it is certainly familiar. That means it has the same MT-09 derived CP3 triple, 890cc, 119 horsepower of course. It's an engine we know well from the XSR 900, the XSR 900 GP and the Tracer 9, which I've ridden previously as well. And it's an absolutely storming engine, we know that. The frame is also derived from that. It's Delta Box aluminium, but it's been tweaked for the R9, so it's got reinforcement, stiffening, slightly different geometry, all that kind of thing. Now, in terms of who this bike is aimed at, Yamaha says it's built to attract two slightly different audiences. The first being a younger crowd, perhaps taking their first steps into proper sports bikes, so coming from R7s or perhaps the MT series Nakeds, things like that. But it's also designed to appeal to more experienced, read older riders who are perhaps returning to sports bikes after a period riding tourers or adventure bikes and things like that, and they're kind of looking to revive memories of their old R6s and R1s and things like that. Now, in terms of how it compares, apparently the riding position is a little less extreme than an R6 or an R1, so that means the bars are slightly higher, the seat and the pegs are a little bit lower, although you can adjust the latter if you're going to be doing track days and things like that into a higher position. Going with that as well, you've got full adjustment for the KYB suspension, so that can be tweaked for high and low speed compression, for rebound, for preload. You can do similar with the shock at the back as well. And then of course there's a full suite of electronic assistance with rider modes, things like that. I think there's 10 different systems designed to enhance the riding experience, or at least stop you from falling off. They can all be configured in the different modes as well. So yeah, in terms of intimidation factor, all that adjustability and tweakability, configurability does make it, yeah, quite a lot to take in for a rider of my level. Now, in terms of reference points for me, I guess the nearest one is the Ducati Panigale V2, which has also had a similar rebirth as a supposedly more friendly and road optimized sports bike. Certainly, I loved the Ducati when I rode it, and for a relative newbie like me, I was surprised and impressed at how accommodating it was and how easy it was to get along with. Will the Yamaha be the same? Well, it's certainly a lot cheaper. It's just over 12 grand for this bike, which is quite a lot less than the 15 grand starting price on the Ducati. But looking at it, I can't help but see that spirit of the R6 and the R1, which to a lot of people will be very attractive, but when you combine that with the aero, all that adjustability, all that kind of thing, for someone like me, does look, yes, a little bit scary. Will it prove to be so out on the road though? Well, let's go and find out. Right, so is the R9 a scary beast? Or perhaps a new school all-round sports bike? Let's find out. But first of all, it's quite difficult to pin down where this bike sits in the sports bike pecking order, isn't it? Because it is clearly more powerful and sharper than the R7 and the CBR 650, the Suzuki GSX 8R, the Triumph Daytona, and all those kind of new school bikes that I've ridden previously. But it's not as powerful or as extreme as a CBR 600RR or an R6 let alone an R1. So it's weird. It's kind of in a no man's land between them all, isn't it? Or it could be the sweet spot. That's what we're going to try and find out, isn't it? So certainly that triple engine is just as glorious as in any other bike that it's been fitted to. It's just such a nice engine, whether you hold from the lower gears or let it rev out like that. It's such a nice engine to use. It's got so much charisma and just the right level of performance for me at least. I mean, the kind of hardcore sports bike fans will probably say 119 horsepower isn't enough to get out of bed for, but certainly for that target audience of people coming from R7s and things like that, I think this will feel like plenty. But you can still feel like you're using a lot of the performance rather than just reining it in all the time, which I imagine is a frustration with a properly powerful sports bike. You know, when you're getting up to the kind of 200 horsepower league, I imagine that gets a bit frustrating. So it's a nice level of performance to have. It just feels a bit more usable. So, and certainly now the road's getting bumpy again, the bike is feeling a little bit more compliant, because when I first rode it along this stretch of road, I think the previous person to ride it was either quite a bit heftier than me, or it had been set up for the track, because it was super firm and really, really nervous. It was making me nervous because it was so jittery over the bumps. It was just kind of pile driving everything. It just felt like the tyres were skating over the road surface, so it was really, really firm. But I've taken advantage of that adjustability. I've backed off preload, compression, everything to just try and make it feel a bit more compliant. And it seems to have worked, because it feels like it's actually working with the road now rather than just fighting against it. Which is a really nice sensation. And when you actually get to tip it into a bend like that, the agility of the bike and the shockability, it feels like, not unlike the R7 in fact, in terms of its size and shockability. So if that is your frame of reference, I think you're going to be very happy with this. And the riding position doesn't feel too ridiculous. Sure, it's on the wrists, bum in the air, but it's not too bad. Maybe I'm just got quite a high tolerance for this kind of riding position, but yeah, it doesn't feel like it's going to be too intolerable for a long day. So I like the Ducati in that sense. And now that I've got the bike a little more dialed into my weight and the style of roads I'm riding on, my confidence is really starting to grow. I mean, sure, I'm not pushing it by any stretch. I mean, what we're doing here, 5/10 probably, a kind of nervous newbie road pace. So I'm really not pushing the bike by any means, but it's good fun, and that's, even with my limited abilities, I feel like I'm getting something out of the bike. Big bump there, I had to lift myself off the seat. I mean, it's intense, it's a kind of full mind and body workout, but it doesn't, at least now I've set the suspension up, it doesn't feel like it's going to spit me off the road. And there's the extra confidence of all those electronics, all of which I've got set to maximum, there to support me. Not that I've really felt like I've nudged into them at all. It doesn't feel like I've got anywhere near the bike's limits. But like all Yamahas, it's just got a really kind of nice pointiness and lack of weight. So I think it's 179 kilos dry, which is about the same as the unfueled weight for the Panigale V2. So it's, all the stats are in fact really, really comparable with the Ducati. They're very, very similar bikes by the numbers. I think they're quite different in character though. I think the 3-cylinder engine on the R9 gives it a bit more anger than the Ducati. That was nice, flexible, torquey, characterful, all the rest, but there's a ferocity to this R9 which is really, really compelling. And really, really good fun. So there's a quick taste of the Yamaha R9. I came into it scared. I'm still nervy, but it doesn't feel like the complete psychopath that I feared. So yeah, a lot of fun. Really, really impressive. So there you go, there's a little flavour of the R9 from a kind of a rookie's perspective. Certainly if you're looking for the lost word in whether this bike truly lives up to Yamaha's formidable sports bike heritage, then you're going to have to go somewhere else. There are people much better qualified than me to do that. But hopefully you got a sense of what it's like from the point of view of somebody who's relatively new to motorbikes, certainly new to sports bikes, and has come from one of the nearest competitors in the shape of the Ducati Panigale V2. But what about the Yamaha? Well, I think certainly for those two target audiences that Yamaha is looking at, I'm probably closer to those coming from the less powerful bikes, the R7s, the Nakeds, that kind of thing. And certainly with that approach, it feels fast enough, or a bigger step up in speed, a big enough step up in speed to really offer a proper thrill and sense that you've made a proper decisive step into kind of sports bikes and all that kind of thing. So it feels quick and exciting and intimidating enough to give you a bit of a thrill in that sense. And certainly in terms of the engine, the chassis, the suspension, all the electronics, all that kind of stuff, it's got all the kit you could hope for in a modern performance motorbike, and it's all there to back you up as well. None of it gets in the way. The engine remains absolutely magnificent. That triple is just gorgeous. It pulls from low revs, it howls out to high revs. It's got bags of character and charisma, and it's just seems like exactly the right level of performance for the road, which is the same as I found on the Ducati, of course. That kind of 120 horsepower-ish and a sub 200 kilo weight in a relatively small and chuckable bike. It feels like a really nice mix, and it does feel like you can use a decent amount of the performance as well. You're not just having to rein it in all the time. Sure, there's a whole lot more to uncork, but for somebody of average ability, it feels like you're getting enough out of the bike, both this and the Ducati. In terms of how they compare, well, it's interesting. I think I felt more comfortable more quickly on the Panigale V2. True, I haven't had quite as many miles on this bike, certainly not as many as I would have liked to have done. So I think perhaps with a few more under my belt, the Yamaha would have sort of come to me a little bit. I felt a little bit more comfortable, got over the intimidation factor. But so based on those impressions, I'd say the Yamaha is a little pointier and sharper. There's a lot more adjustment, I think, in it. So yeah, it's probably, of the two bikes, it's probably the sharper and the one that kind of demands a little bit more of the rider. It's also stonking value when you compare it with the Ducati, isn't it? So 12 and a bit grand for this, 15 grand for the base Panigale V2. You could load this up with the Krapovic exhaust, all the kind of billet extras and bits and bobs, and you'd probably still be cheaper than the base price for the Ducati. So that is a major consideration. But of course, Ducati has the image and the brand standing and that kind of sense of Italian exotica as well. So yeah, it's going to come down to budget and tastes really, that comparison. Is it worthy of comparison with the R6 and the R1? Well, I don't know. I've not ridden either of those bikes and I don't have a long history with them either, so I can't honestly comment on that. Would it reward somebody who's coming from that background? Again, I don't know, but I would say there's probably the performance, I don't know, that might feel a little bit of a step back from a bike like that, but it's got the flexibility and there's all the adjustments in it as well. So I think you could probably turn this bike into a pretty sharp and focused road track weapon if that was your desire. So I think there's enough in the bike to make it into what you will. If it's quick enough, I don't know, you'll have to decide on that for yourself. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Would you have the R9 or do you prefer the Ducati Panigale V2? Is it worthy of comparison with legendary bikes like the R6 and the R1? Let's have a chat about that in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, please do so. That would mean a lot. And for now, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for watching and ride safe.